Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 42 of the Sitcast, aka the Siblings in Cardboard podcast. I'm your host, Noah, joined by my buddy slash co-host, Thomas and Donnie. Whether you're a veteran card gamer or a first timer just testing the waters, we are all siblings in cardboard. Guys, how about the non-US Nats results, and how come there's so many Zens in the top 8?
I don't know. I didn't watch any of them. I was on vacation.
Zen's pretty good, it turns out.
Pretty good.
I'm not surprised.
Pretty good.
Big piece. You're on vacation, huh? So no flesh and blood from our wizard player. Well, not really wizard player. He'll be a wizard.
I think you're
Everybody's going to be a wizard in Rosetta.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm going to be a Rune Blade probably. But
it's all the same.
No, zero flesh and blood. Might be like the first week since I started playing the game that I didn't like play any games on Talishar, any games in paper, or even like open up Fabrary. So
yeah, that is
not even
unfathomable
Fabrary?
to me. Yeah, I can't imagine not grinding on Fabrary.
I mean, I engaged on Twitter. I engaged on Twitter a little bit because like everyone's complaining about Zen. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the flavor of the week. Everybody's whining about Zen and crying for nerfs and bans, and it's we're not even a month into the format yet, and people are whining about bans.
I don't like boots. I don't like there being a pair of boots in the game that add a card to your hand. That's just me. That's how I feel about it.
I have heard from some people that visited the stream we did on Sunday, which was yesterday. Days of the week are really hard. Rebecca Black, where are you? And they also talked about the boots needing to be hit.
It's such an easy ban.
Like it would feel like a decent hit. There's already another pair of boots that could kind of fill the void a little bit, so it wouldn't even feel that bad.
It clearly shaves like 2 or 3% off of the win rate. Like it definitely will for that archetype that uses those boots. There are archetypes that use Breeze Striders, and like I said, I don't like breaking the rule of having a card in hand that is generated from boots when that's supposed to be what the headpiece is used for, right? That's why it's so potent. You just block with all your gear. You block for 7. You get 2 cards in hand. It's crazy.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah,
when we talk about the results and why there's a lot of three-letter names sitting at the top there. They didn't win them all, but boy, oh boy, there was a lot of Zen.
Talking about Dio, 3-letter names?
No, Zen, Z-E-N.
I mean, there's some Dio too.
Yeah,
which is actually surprising.
I heard Dio's like actually on fire over the weekend as well.
No, not actually so much. It's just the pilots. Dio has a 66% conversion rate to winning a nationals if she makes it to top 8.
Wow.
She won 2 nationals and she had 3 top 8s.
2 out of 3.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good stats.
But yeah, I love conversion rate. That is the greatest misuse of statistics I've ever seen. It's so good.
Yeah. But news on the board. So, go team.
Yep.
News actually on the board from a national championship and from the Battle Hardened in, what was it, Seattle? I think it was Seattle. Pankaj Bhojwani, Ethnic Smoke, took it down on New.
I think I might play New in my next competitive season if the meta doesn't shift a lot. It'll either be one of the new heroes or New, I think, at this point.
She's so much fun. That's why I can't get off Fabrary. I'm constantly tweaking between different deck lists and stuff. I mean, really, man, how did you manage to get away from the game for a week? Like, how did it not like consume you and make you itch?
I was like at the beach, and whenever I wanted to like think about doing something like that, I just played Caves of Cud or Balatro. So just played roguelike games that I could sit down and like play for 20-30 minutes, and then I would go get a drink, and then I would go do something beach related.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can play Talishar on your mobile device.
I mean, I had a laptop. I could have done as much Talishar as I wanted to. I just didn't.
You could have been practicing your New at the beach, right?
I'm just saying.
like just
where there's a will, there's a way.
I mean, there's also a chance I could play Riptide, and I wanted to like fool around with what I think a aim counter Riptide deck would be, and we'll talk about why.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, maybe that new card has something to do with it.
yeah, that's the
Maybe
one
not.
thing that
Maybe.
popped up that I'm kind of excited about. There's a cool card in that new Azalea deck.
There's some new stuff coming out. There's also our Realm Rumble coming up on August 17th that we're going to talk about every single time until it shows up. I was talking about it a little bit yesterday. So, Thomas, what about that Realm Rumble? What's going on with that?
So August 17th at LevelUp Games in Duluth, there will be a Realm Rumble Invitational, at least one invite will be given out. There will be at least $500 worth of prize payout.
Qualifier.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a qualifier. So the invite is actually transferable too. So there's some real money on the line. You can sell it even if you can't make it this year. And I believe it's supposed to be closer than it was last year. It was like all the way in Ohio. I think it's gonna be somewhere on the East Coast this time. So a lot more accessible. I wonder if they've announced it and I just been too lazy to look up exactly where it's at. I apologize for that. It is. But I do know it is going to be closer. It will be in December and it's like a 50K. So there's some real money on the line if you get one of these invites.
Yeah, and watching the stream from the event the last time they did it, there is some serious swag involved in going to that invitational event. I mean, did you guys see the custom playmats with the players' names written on them?
Yes.
That was fantastic.
That was really cool.
That was... Ooh.
And it was really competitive.
I would want to be qualified just for that.
God, it was crazy competitive. Like, that was a harder, like, pool of players than you see at some, like, callings.
Yeah.
The real money's on the line. There's other games going on there too. It's a community driven thing as well. So it's like it's off LSS, in terms of like LSS branded tournaments, and it's just nice that the community has come together from all across card games to put this together, and we're happy to be a part of it and be able to throw out some prizes and some raffle prizes and top 8 prizes or whatever, and give away some invites, and just enjoy Flesh and Blood. I mean, the way it was meant to be played, as some say.
So yeah, there should be a link probably in next week's video description. There'll be an event link from LevelUp to go ahead and pay for your entry and get prepped. It's going to be classic constructed. I will nail down the number of rounds we think it will be, but that's depending on the number of players.
I'm assuming it'd be like REL competitive rules.
Yeah, and we'll have a judge that's required. So it will be
good local judges.
It will be REL competitive.
Yeah. I know both of our local judges, actually all 3 of them. If we count, we have a great pool of judges, so they're always a charm. So make sure you mark your calendar.
So
I think it has to be a level 1. So you got to take one more exam to get there, man.
I'll get there eventually when I find some free time somewhere at the bottom of a bucket.
Yeah, I'm on the judge mailing list. I'm a level 0 as well, but I think the one time I wanted to go ahead and take the level 1, they were out of questions. Because
out of questions?
Yes. They rely, at least, I don't know if they changed the system, but about a year or so ago, it would be there was a pool of questions, and as people took the exam, those questions would get used, and then they would be gone. And they would rely on judges to make more questions. And it was to keep people from being able to, like, cheat. Since, like, it's completely open book, open source, do whatever you want while you're taking it. They can't really enforce anything. It was a weird system, but it could get backed up to where there are no questions if too many people are taking the exam because the pool of questions gets exhausted.
I need to look into that. Look into that and see what it actually takes to go from level 0 to level 1 these days, because I want to say something's been updated. Anybody that's listening, if you know, post it in the comments for us. Tell me how I can go from A to B without having to do too much legwork. Do the legwork for me. Save me some time, people. Save me some time.
I would say just go into the judge Discord. There is a judge Discord that's really great as a resource, and they could probably get you there. And having more level 1 judges is a great thing. The more you have, I think we only have 3 in there. No, 4. We have 4 in the area. Because I know there's one that shows up at Showcase a lot. So there's 4 in our area that I know of. Anyway, moving on. How has the market been doing? Has it settled down on those Earth and Lightning cards a little bit?
It has. I mean, we're not going to talk about too many of the speculations. Poison the Wells, that just like, let's just go across the board. CMH is down, Poison the Wells down. Not down enough though, and don't worry, it's not out. You guys don't have to worry about it.
Hold on, I'm gonna go look for myself now.
You can. I showed them like, and I'll give you guys just an example. I showed them some of my speculation mail that I pulled from the side. So these are unopened fan mail letters full of random goodies like this from Star City Games. That's 16 Vipoxes, and you say, Noah, what's 16 Vipoxes gonna do for you? Well, new players, it's a 1-cost card. Think about that, and they gotta block it. Nobody wants to take 4 damage. Or come on,
it's a 1 power attack. What does Vipox do again?
If it hits, it deals damage based on the amount of cards in the opponent's hand at the time that it hits.
Okay, so if you are using a pump to go over whatever they've blocked with, they're already down cards on their hands.
Yeah, but do you really want to block a Vipox is the real question. And so if you've already enabled, you've already blocked the Vipox, you don't even have to pump it. You got value out of it.
I mean, I guess if they're trying to block with armor and keep their cards in hand, I could see that.
There's the point of it. It just seems cute.
Yeah,
and not. I'm all about cute stuff.
There's like there's some really good cards that you can use new with, like Pursuit of Knowledge is kind of insane in my opinion.
Kind of good.
You spend 2 to swing for 4, right? But if it hits, you get to draw an extra card, which increases your defensive ability, which lets you hit that like magical 3-card hand that you want easier so that you could do it again. And it's blue. Yeah.
The thing is, that's costing 2 kind of bites. It's hard to fit that into the cost curve with the daggers unless you already have that bigger hand. I mean,
I feel like you should already kind of be building around it, though.
Actively disrupt.
But it does it not? In a way?
I mean, it's
okay.
It's an incentive to block, but it doesn't actually stop what your opponent wants to do.
It's an inverse surgical extraction, right? Instead of ripping a card, you get to draw an extra card. So it's basically if you build your deck and surgical extraction's like a good card in your deck, then I feel like Pursuit of Knowledge is a slightly less good surgical extraction. If we're just thinking about card tempo and card advantage.
Yeah, but Vipox is 0 and it blocks for 3. I'm all about it.
Yeah, but if literally the only pump that works with it in the deck.
Just the Nick. Wait, can't just the Nick
even work on it?
Oh, it doesn't?
Vipox, yes. Vipox, yes.
Vipox.
But I was still thinking about Pursuit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Pursuit. You can definitely hit it with just Nick, but as far as Hiss or Venomous or
Pursuit is really just abusing Beckoning Mistblade. Like if they ever let Beckoning Mistblade hit, it comes in for 5 go again plus 1 intelligence. It's pretty strong.
Now, I have seen some builds that are dual wielding the Mistblade instead of having a Spider Spite or a Scale Peel or something in the other hand.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It's not a bad idea.
Right, because you want to know it's a really, really strong combo. Beckoning Mistblade, and if they don't block it, you throw Pursuit of Knowledge, and they go, oh crap, I have to block this, and then they block it, and then you go, Surgical Extraction. And they go, oh no, now I'm taking 1, and I have no hand, or I just got to give them all the cards. Yeah.
What feels so good is, like a game I had earlier against a Max, I had a decent build-up in their Banish Zone of like 5 or 6 different good blue, Mechanologist cards. I ended up throwing a Mistblade, and they let it hit, so I pitched into new and went throttle into throttle, and got some really good value off of that Mistblade.
Yeah, 5
so
and
being able to swing it another time,
I feel like
what's crazy.
I feel like they might block the second one after they see you use your hero power.
They should.
Yeah, you would think so.
They have armor left over. Sometimes you're just like, I'm screwed either way, right? I spend a card blocking the Mistblade, and then I just get hit harder by the attack that's after it.
Yep.
It's definitely a feels bad. New has that way of creating those really unfun plays that your opponent has to navigate. It's why it reminds me of Dory a lot.
It was kind of a high rolly game moment. I think I transcended and used the mask every turn for the first 5 turns of the game. It was not nice.
Lordy.
I'm gonna be honest. I actually forgot what we were talking about. How did we get on?
BIPOX.
BIPOX
Okay.
and the market.
Don't worry about it. BIPOX market.
Sorry. I can talk about new all night, guys.
This is how tangents work. The crazy part is of these 16 in my hand, there are still 12 not accounted for. I have a total of 28 BIPOXes. I know. This is how speculating works. They were about $1 or less a piece. I'm okay with it. They'll go sit back there until BIPOX is time.
40 cents.
It'll be real eventually. I'm not even worried about it. I had to buy them at a higher price so I could get free shipping. It comes out to about the same. Anyway, let's crack into the market minute. As we were talking, a lot of the lightning cards, most of them have kind of settled down. That's not true for some things. Surge and Aether Tide went up. People are speculating. Grasp is still high. Dyadic Carapace is still high. I mean, things like that. So CMH fell down because people just don't know what the new channels are going to be. If they're going to be old channels, new channels, it's not spelled out. The knee-jerk reaction always happens. That is what I like to call like the initial ceiling. And then I was talking to Donnie right before the stream of how I like approach this type of stuff. And it's, you get that, okay, so the knee-jerk reaction, Poison the Well went up to $7. What if it's actually meta-driven and it also needs, once it becomes meta-defined or meta-driven, then we think, can that $7 go any higher? And I think it can. I think Poison the Well can top out at like 10 or 15 in my perfect world.
You bought a bunch of them for sub $1. I don't think that's a big, scary investment.
No, I feel that's most of these times when I tell people to speculate. It's like Blizzard right now for 60 cents. It's because it's cheap and eventually Blizzard will be good again, right? It's a 60-cent card. Like, go buy yourself some Blizzards. If you buy 40 Blizzards for like 60 cents a piece, you feel pretty good. Because once Ice comes back, it's going up to $2 to $3 a card. I promise. It's Blizzard. Everybody's going to play Blizzard. Why wouldn't you? Anyway, we're going to talk about some speculating cards. One that I completely called that I hope everybody was paying attention on because it's already starting to go up. And I tell you guys these things because I love you all and I want you to be ahead of the game. But we're going to start with Stormstriders. I actually completely just blew. I don't even know how I didn't connect the dots. I was like, Runeblades and Arcane, and I went and bought all Runeblade stuff, and I just completely ignored Wizards. And then I was like, Stormstriders. I was like, no way, how can I forget? And so lo and behold, I go check Stormstriders, and they've jumped. Rightly so. Those boots are cracked beyond belief, but they were sitting down. Anybody who has seen them, they're $55 a piece, sometimes as low as $57, as back in the early June. They're now $95, and rightly so. Rightly so. Stormstriders are Arcane Rising equipment. They are wizard legs. They don't block for anything. You don't need block as a wizard. Instant, destroy Stormstriders. You may play your next wizard non-attack action card this turn as though it were an instant. That's already broken, and it has Arcane Barrier too. These are pretty much the boots that everybody knows. It's iconic for Kano. He pops them. You're pretty much dead. That's usually how the sequencing goes. The Stormstriders get expended. The Ragamuffins go in the middle. You're like,
break Stormstriders.
No.
You go, uh-oh.
You get
Retro Raggy. Yeah.
That's when things start happening. So you picture that with the new amp cards and the new wizards coming out, and you're like, well, of course, these are going to be the quintessential boots. I don't think that they change these boots. These are wizard boots. They have to come out with some craziness.
Someone said Azalea doesn't have feet, so you won't have a foot slot. So if you're going to be an Azalea gamer, you can maybe dodge the Stormstriders.
I know that was. That was funny, and I enjoyed it.
That's a fair assessment of the art.
Azalea's also 250 feet tall or something, and he's like a construct, so he might not need boots.
What was it? How's Azalea supposed to kill this? How's Azalea supposed to kill this? That was the comment I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing looks like something out of Bionicle, so it's going to be interesting to see what the adult actually looks like.
Super cool though. I am super excited for most of these. Verdance, I'm a little worried if they turn this game into some weird turtle life game. It's been a while since we've had a hero that does that, so she does scare me a little bit. Aurora, I think, is actually going to be really fun. I'm looking at her more and more. Shock Charmers, I think, should be on everybody's radar. If not, like you need to understand that Shock Charmers haven't been real for like 80 years. Okay, that's an over exaggeration, but that's how long. And these are two lightning, like Shock Charmers will be what I promise you, some variation of Shock Charmers. It has to be. It's their time.
The Shock Charmers were used back in the Lexi meta. Okay, there were an occasional
Yeah,
deck that would run it, and I've died to it before. So
they're
Lexi
neat.
used them, but they were very few and far between. Ice was just better.
But I'm sold on some of these new heroes. The only one I'm not super duper like whoa about is the Earth Rune Blade. Just flavor wise, like I'm sure people are going to be super cool about the Germinate guy. I can't think of his name right now. But all the others like really look good. Obviously Verdance, for multiple reasons. But if she's some weird defensive, factor. Yeah, God, yeah, they're really making this hard to stick with Dory. They're just really making this rough.
I mean, Dory's cute too.
No, trust me, it's why I don't switch. Like I've been a Dory main my whole life. I'll finally, actually say the truth because that's literally what it's been. There is no other hero it's been. Anyway, another card that's speculated up quite a bit, but it's a card that gets played in Kano. It's quite a good card. With the new amp effects, I actually think that this card gets better, so rightfully so, it's gone up. And that's Swell Tidings from Dynasty. Swell Tidings is a red wizard action that costs 2 to play, blocks for 3, pitches for 1, deal 5 arcane damage to target hero. Surge, if this deals more than 5 damage, create a ponder token. Pretty basic.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not a Kano card anymore. I don't think you have space for it. It was being played in Kano before Kindle came out, and I think that it came out after that. I'm not sure who would want to home that card. It's kind of expensive.
Well, I mean, speculation wise and just near jerk reactions, it's gone up from early June at like $2 a card, sometimes $1.84, up to almost $10 a card right now. So Swell Tidings are on people's radar. There's just more amp, I guess, in the meta, more ways to make that 5 into an 8 into something that's a lot harder to really AB. And then think about it, if you AB 3 on an
5, what are you talking about? No one's gonna AB 5.
No.
Swell Tidings always got the pretty much. Okay, it had to do more than 5. So
it has to do more than 5.
You would have to amp it by 4 to guarantee in the meta in general to get your ponder token.
You can amp it by 4. There's enough amp now with Channel Millennium Tree and some other effects.
Can't you just use Aether Arc instead? I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to deviate too far into that.
Go off on another tangent.
I mean, Aether Arc just says if a hero was dealt damage with it, you get a ponder token. You don't have to do weird stuff like deal more than 5.
Yeah, but it's a 2 for 5.
No, this is a 0 for 1 blue.
Aether Arc is also a really good card.
Yeah.
And I actually think Aether Arc will be probably one of the staple blues for most of these wizards coming out. I wouldn't see it any other way. It's just a good blue. I think Aether Arc blocks for 3 too.
Yep.
So it feels good all around.
It's a blue block 3 that you could use to kill your opponent or get a ponder token early in the game. It's fine.
But I just wanted to note Swell Tidings because I passed it and I was like, oh, that's really neat. And apparently some people think that it's worth having quite a few. This next card, I think, is more tailored toward the current meta, which is always nice to find something like that. It's a really cool card. I've seen it in a couple of Fi decks and some other decks. But very sparingly. Huh? You know,
You're talking about Art of War.
No, Art of War is actually up though, which is crazy to think about. That Art of War has been sitting at $30 pretty much this entire time. No matter how many heroes use it, Zen starts using it, $44 a card. So Art of War,
wow.
Yeah, no, Art of War has definitely upticked. Just more people need them. Like they're quintessential cards. No, this card is Censor.
Oh, really?
Censor. Yes,
card.
from Dusk Till Dawn. Censor is a generic attack action red, costs 1, which I actually think is really good. That cost curve at 1 is really nice. Now, granted, it's only 5 attack, blocks for 3, but it says when this hits a hero, name a card. They can't play the named card until the end of their next turn.
I think this
Who
is
wants
one
to
of the
play
most
a card with names?
I think this is one of the most well-designed cards in
Yes.
Flesh and Blood. It's a 1 for 5 with a really meaningful on hit. The art's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it
And
is like
for 3.
it's peak interaction, right? You have to soul read what your opponent wants to do on their next turn. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think
It's
it
wonderfully
targets
behind
them.
a dagger.
It does. It actually does. And you get to look at the opponent's hand in new quite a bit, and you get to kind of, you get to know what card ended up in Arsenal. You know what I
Wait.
mean? Like you get to kind of know.
How do you get to look at your opponent's hand?
You get to Mask of Recurring Nightmares.
Oh, with new?
No.
Mass doesn't.
Mass doesn't look at
But-
hand.
Oh, but you get to look at. Oh, there's cards that you look at the
Little
hand. and do.
bond, surgical, persuasive prognosis.
I mean, if you hit with a censor though against like the hero that really matters, you just say Bonds of Ancestry, and you just go, okay, you can't combo this turn.
Right. It's you say Crouching Tiger. You say whatever you think your opponent's gonna want to play to string out their their turn. You say Blood Rush Bellas. If you think that they have one sitting in the arsenal,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very every TCG has this card. MTG had its Sorcerer's Spyglass. You would just call the card and it could never be played. Like every game has this type of a card, and it's required. It's totally meta dependent though. So this card is going to rise and fall based on how it's used. But it was a $2 card back at the beginning of June, $2.50, somewhere down to $1.50. You could have snagged them for. They are $13 a card right now, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that this is the same thing with Amnesia, with Weakest Link. These are cards you guys need to have play sets of. And I want you to buy them when they're low. And so I'm saying, like, don't buy your censors now per se. But that standing order, it's at $5. These are the cards you get like a play set of and you just put aside because they are so meta dependent. It's that meta again. I got to put my standing orders. Oh, it's that meta again. I got to get my Amnesias in.
Yep. That's true.
You have to. These are meta cards, guys. Warmonger's Diplomacy now more than ever. Please, like I know they're $65 a card, and nobody wants to get a play set, but you've got to have them. If you fall behind and they go to $80 with this new meta coming out, because they probably will, they're going to be like the blue CNC. Like they're going to be like in everybody's deck and sideboard. They're going to be there. They're going to be that card.
With Rosetta coming out and 2 new Rune Blades entering the game, Warmongers is probably going. It's not going down.
No, if anything, it's going up. So please believe me. Trade for the Warmongers. Try and get them for a deal. You've got to get a play set of them. If you plan on playing a deck, you've got to get them.
When Warmongers is good, it's so incredibly good. Like it's just wild how strong it could be if it's played at the right time.
Yep.
Like sometimes it just doesn't hit, right? Like you throw it against like Azalea and she's like, sure, I guess I'll just E-strike Ravenous Rabble, shoot you with an arrow, and you're just like crap.
Right.
But
like
sometimes you play Warmongers and the Azalea goes,
okay, break
pass.
gloves.
yeah, break gloves, shoot an arrow, or they just straight up pass their turn.
I have been hit with it before, and I've looked at all my pumps, and because I have to always ask myself, like, wait, like I can't do this, and I just look at my hand and I go, okay, and I go pass, because that's literally how it feels. I can't actually load the damn thing to shoot it. I'm just like, because I can't get the card out of Arsenal, so I'm like, oh, pass. That's literally how it feels. You're like pumping Arsenal, can't play it. Okay, well,
guess what card's really bad when you have Warmonger's Diplomacy on you? Codex of Frailty.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. So it really hurts Codex users, and one of those Codex users is Ranger. So it's just like if you have a Codex of Frailty in your hand and you get hit with a War Dip, you're just like, oh god, I just lost so much advantage in a single card. It's good. And it's really good against Rune Blades. So anytime they have that play one non-attack action, play one attack action errata to their cards, Warmonger's Diplomacy just shuts that off. Flat out.
Yep. They cannot get that joint effect. They won't be able to pretty much play the way a Rune Blade should play. So you guys got to get it. Like, I know it's a little bit of a deviation, but this is that whole generic card talk. Generic cards are very strong. Sensor is a meta dependent card, very strong. No surprise. Now this next card, I had talked about it. I had some people on the stream kind of tell me the same thing. They're not really sure whether it's going to be used or not. But I told you guys to look at Heart of Findle, and I wasn't joking. Okay, I was serious about it. The second life gain comes back into the equation, they start putting out heroes that say the words gain life. I instantly think, what's the freest card in the world that just says gain life? It's Heart of Findle. It's a blue. Heart of Findle was, okay, as low as 250, 260. You probably could have got a little lower, back up to 325. Okay,
yeah, not surprised.
It's trending upwards, and it will continue to trend upwards. It's right there with Eye of Ophidia in terms of playability when the meta depends. Now, Eye is always going to have the edge because opting at all times is better than gaining for most decks. I mean, the Heart's still dependent on you having a lower life total, and Eye isn't. You just opt. Granted, not every deck wants to opt.
When the Heart of Findle was very much meta relevant, like it was played in Icelander and Oldhim at the same time. It was pushing about 500, wasn't it?
It was, because that was back when I pulled it. When I first got into the
it's
game,
like
it was
465.
Yeah, it was.
I opened it, and I'm like,
that was one of the first. That was one of the first boxes I ever bought. Was a Welcome to Wraith.
Yeah, you bought a case, and it came in, and we cracked it, and it was like in the first box. We got a Heart of Findle.
It was super cool. It was. It's still the same heart I have. I will not get rid of that heart. It's like it's a memorabilia piece more than anything else. It's like the first card I ever pulled out of buying the cards. So, but you guys have to have a heart. This is one of those fables between heart and eye. They're fables that get played. I went into a whole spiel yesterday in the stream about fables and how it's kind of nice to own them because you never know when they're going to be like relevant. But most fables, since those two, haven't been that very universal sense, because right afterwards you get Arknight Shard. It's specifically for what's his face, Viserai.
That's not even used,
right? Yeah. Then you get Grandeur, which is by the way, Grandure's at an all-time low of $83, and it only comes in cold foil. I want you to understand that we're going to talk about it because I have like a you need to pick up after this, and it's Guardian related, just FYI. But like, think of all these fables, right? Like the new Mist one, $30. Cog from Bright Lights, $30. Blood of the Drakai, absolutely useless right now. It will have its time though.
Not likely.
Don't worry about it.
Light of Soul should be pretty expensive still.
Light of Soul is probably the only one that's
insane in prison.
Yeah. and Solana just because of the library, just because of the interaction. And I think the cold foil just keeps its price.
What about Corsham?
Corsham is absolutely dead down in the dumps. I think it's like a
really?
$20-$30 whatever,
55-ish right now.
Oh, 55. Okay, that's a lot better than I thought, actually.
I think this would be Corsham's time if it's going to be any time, right?
I don't know. What does Corsham do when
that's
you arrive?
the one. Yeah.
It says destroy target library.
Hold on. When you arrive at the legendary Corsham, go again. Whenever a hero reveals a card, they gain 1 resource or 1 life, or their next attack this day gains +1 power, or their next action card they defend with this day gains +1 defense. At sunset each day, depart Corsham if no hero gained resource, life, power, or defense. So what you have to do is you have to, it uses day for turn. It's flavor, right? So you have to gain something every turn.
Yeah,
and this stays out. So yeah. Who gains something every turn? Probably Verdance.
Yeah,
So she can gain a life every turn.
That's true. And you're always at Corsham, but it says only when you arrive it. It's when you arrive. No. Whenever a hero reveals a card.
Yeah, whenever a hero reveals a card. So you have to have some way of consistently revealing cards,
which is fusing,
or gaining. So
right,
you can keep it out by just gaining a life, a a defense, or a resource.
I might have to buy a couple of.
I would let's say
core ships.
if this
it
Fable's ever going to get played, it's going to
Hold
be
on.
in one of these Earth heroes, probably.
We might have to buy a few of these core ships now.
I guess like any of the fusion heroes, right? Because they have a way.
And
of
what kind of
consistently
landmark
fusing.
is it? I mean, elemental or is it
It's elemental.
Earth? Okay. So
Yeah.
it's not Earth or Lightning. It's just
Mm-mm.
elemental.
You
Just
could play it.
elemental.
You could play it in any elemental deck.
It is the crossroads of elements.
Fair enough.
But yeah, okay. Speculate on it. I like it. That's
If there's any left after Noah gets
Yeah,
a hold of it.
usually I'm very cynical.
stop.
I'm very cynical, but like when I saw Verdance, I immediately thought, oh, this would be really cool with Corsham, because like if she does things with gaining life and she could gain life on both turns, then she just gains one more life. And if that can get compounded where she's like adding one to that one life, she's gaining two instead. It could be kind of crazy. Just think about the value generation. It could get up there with Library of Solana, right?
Well,
Yeah.
they have to reveal a card to gain a life,
Yeah, she
or
just
a
plays like
resource.
or instant
or their
speed
next attack
card
this
with
day gets
fusion.
+1, or the next attack actually. Yeah, no, I'm saying, and I'm sure there will be fusion cards. Like this actually does make sense. So this is a fusion based Fable. And
Or they make Crown
these
of
heroes
Seeds
are
but
gonna
life
fuse.
gain instead. Oh god.
Oh please, I just keep that card
Crown of
banned
Seeds will
right
never
now.
see the light of day again. And
It's-
they would be
it's-
hard pressed to make anything even remotely like it.
They can't, dude. Like there's already cards that make no sense that they were ever printed.
Bottom
But-
bottom your arsenal gain a life. You don't see that being
Yeah.
seems a little
I mean,
strong.
long as there's not the text draw a card attached to it.
Oh, that's true.
So, just to close this out, because I did say we're gonna have some Guardians, guys. Guardians at an all-time low. Okay, all-time low. Starstrucks are $5. I would buy them if you haven't bought them. That card, it tops out at 15-20 easy when it's meta dependent. I promise you, if you're like Noah, I need to speculate on some cards, buy some Starstrucks.
But
Civic
why would
Steps,
you play Bravo?
Well,
You
you're not
wouldn't.
playing-
You
You're not
wouldn't
playing
right
them
now.
yet. Don't worry about it. This is for the future. Fab is all about the hold now, sell later. Okay.
Like what? 2
Don't
months ago
worry.
we were talking about buy Runeblade stuff, and here we are now looking
This
We're
is what,
looking at Rosetta.
We're gonna
This is
get
what I'm
another
telling you guys.
Starvo, and then we'll all be wrong. It'll be Starvo's
Just-
sidekick of the show or something.
just think about this. I'm setting you guys up. Fab is a long haul. Okay, this won't be relevant for 3 months, but you need to take it in. Get your Starstrucks. Civic Steps are $7 right now. We all know that they were $22 when they were like completely in the meta. Get your Civic Steps. That's going to go up. The second there's a new Guardian in town, that whatever. Tectonic Plating is $29, and that's been solid 40 for its entire career, and it's now down to 29 and dipping. Get you some Tectonic Platings. This is free real estate, I promise. Guardian is a very good thing to spec on right now. Ice is a very good thing to spec on right now. Coronet Peaks, Blizzards, Channel Lake Fridges. I talked about this yesterday. Pick up your ice cards. It's free real estate. Don't come tell me, oh, I could have got Coronet Peaks. Now they're $30 a rainbow foil. I told you. It's $5 a Coronet Peak. Pick up like 15 at $75. You throw them off to the side. Next thing you know, you got $450. Whoa. That won't always be that way. But that's the gambling risk aspect. That's the game we play, guys. Welcome to
Yeah, I guess
welcome
so.
to
Not
Flesh and
everybody
Blood.
plays like that.
That's why I have binders full of Vipoxes right here, and that's all I have for the market minute. Get your Vipoxes too.
I'm
Get some
doing a
Vipoxes.
quick experiment. I'm looking at Michael Hamilton's 20K Invitational Bravo from last year.
Mhm.
And I'm taking out Findle, Spring Tunic, Crown of Providence, and 3 Warmonger's Diplomacy, and I'm looking at what it takes to buy it off TCG Play right now. Wow, that is
Oh, it's-
absurd.
It's dirt cheap. It has
Yeah,
to be,
you could
'cause
buy the entire deck. This includes the Command and Conquers for $450.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because almost all those cards are dirt cheap right now.
So if
The
I like,
CNCs are carrying over half of that value.
hold on,
bet.
I'm about to cut out the Command and Conquers because that's the one I like. These are the staples you might already have, right? You think to yourself, man, I want to play a deck that loses a lot, but I just want to go ahead and buy it to have it.
Oh man, there are some
So,
Guardian
hold on.
players that are just rolling right now.
Shade, okay.
I mean,
That loses
if
a lot.
Victor is struggling when he just has a strictly better value engine, then Bravo has no chance, man.
Yeah, Bravo has no hope right now. He just doesn't, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the hero age. It's just so not the time. There's
Kill
so
McCree,
much
sorry,
armor in the
sorry,
meta,
man.
and it's so bad right now. It's brutal.
Yo, I cut out the generic staples, the E-strikes and the Command and Conquers, and you could buy the Bravo deck for $130.
Yep.
Hmm.
Everything in there is, I mean, $5 Starstrucks, the $7 Civic Steps, $30 on Tectonic Plating.
That's wild.
All the spinals and all that, they're cheap. They're about $1 a piece, guys. Like most of these staples. Terra Sunder, I think, is your most expensive at like $5 on some of the Guardian stuff. And Rouse the Ancients might be a decent amount too. But
Now, this didn't include Tectonic Plating. So
okay.
Tectonic Plating would drive it closer up to 200. I think he was just running Tunic on that list. But like, if you had everything, you could just get into Bravo for $130. Even for a deck
And
that
Bravo-
loses every game, that's still really cheap.
Bravo is a decent entry hero again, and he will be
Oh
good
yeah,
again.
I mean, you could take Bravo and win every armory you go to. You can just skill gap your opponents. They don't really understand how your value engine works. They don't play around Command and Conquer Pummel. Then you'll get them.
Yeah,
and he's probably okay in the Zen. Like Spinal Crush, Starstruck, and Crippling Crush still say Zen. You don't get a turn, but he struggles into other things like Enigma.
yeah. There's definitely some, and yeah, there's definitely some very well, yeah, because you can't give. You're playing with a deck full of cards that just the new goes, oh goody.
Yeah, that too.
Our cards.
Goody.
Our cards. Yeah.
You're like, wow, how many blues you run, Bravo? 40? That's 40 targets for me.
Speaking of Guardians, though, let's talk about the new Guardian that got spoiled.
Terra. Oh, dude, I wonder if there's an adult
He looks like a homeless old him. I'm not gonna lie.
He does. He does.
How?
This is
And by the way, the art that we got is young, and this dude looks like he just literally crawled out
Man
of his own
is not
grave.
young.
Yeah.
I'm sure
There's not a young man on that
I'm
art.
sure he is young for his origin. I guess that's what we'll go with. But yeah, he looks kind of aged already. He's got that big grizzly white beard. He's wearing literally a busted up old log on his shoulders. He looks pretty sweet. I like his look a lot, actually. The homeless Earth Druid guy. He's cool.
He's people are calling him like the Guardian version of Ira, just the way that he creates the might token and like you get like the +1 on the next turn kind of a thing.
It's not as good as Ira, but you have access to Guardian cards. So you have access to like crush effects and you get to create that one might. Also, it gives you a way to pitch consistently into things that want like Channel Earth. I think he could be really strong. I think it seems pretty good to me.
I was pretty excited. I know they haven't announced the adult version, but I had to say I was pretty excited when they announced it.
There may not be.
I mean, there may not.
We had this instance for a while, like right before I started playing, there were a lot of like young heroes introduced to the game that didn't have old equivalents. And I think like there was Arachne Solitary Confinement in Outsiders. And then it's like after that, every young hero had an adult equivalent, right? And then all of a sudden we've got a whole bunch of young heroes that don't have an adult equivalent. We've got like Enigma New Moon. I wouldn't be surprised if Terra doesn't have one. We got Blaze Firemind all of a sudden as well.
Based on naming conventions, though, I would be surprised if Terra doesn't have an adult version coming somewhere in the pipeline. Just because it's not Terra something.
Fair.
Like Enigma New Moon or Arachne Solitary Confinement. If it was a standalone hero, he would probably have some type of title associated with the name.
I agree.
Where do you think his product release is going to be then? Do you think
No
they'll
idea.
just have an adult
it's
token?
not going to be Rosetta.
Yeah.
I mean,
could be an expansion slot in Rosetta, right? It's just he's
that is a
there in the
possibility.
Majestic slot as the adult version.
Could be that they might not be. The Rosetta is going to be a reveal the Majestics at the time of release type thing. So
here's an idea. What if they tried to do all three elements and they didn't like it and they said, okay, we're just going to cut one. but we're going to put the adult card in the Majestic slot, and we're just going to release the young character with the cards we wanted to put into the set as a separate product. So that
we already have Earth and Lightning, so I mean,
we have all those cards, but to add new Earth cards, like to the Guardian, they wanted to do Earth Guardian somehow in the set, or they wanted to bring Guardian back in the set and couldn't do it.
Time for another Armory deck exclusive.
I mean, this is First Strike. This is going to be like 18.
It's going to be like $13,
$24, like somewhere. You think it's going to be cheaper?
Yeah, I think I saw the MSRP.
Wow, that's really cool. This $13. So that would actually incentivize me to play Blitz. Because the worst thing about playing Blitz at like an Armory is everyone's like, I don't have a Blitz deck with me.
I was already going to ask you guys, and I think it's a really cool way too. I have 9,000 Blitz decks, obviously from all around the tables and all the so we should just do you can't do anything outside of the pre-constructed Blitz deck days.
Even cheaper, actually. The MSRP USD is $11.99.
Wow.
There you go.
Each one of these
Not bad.
decks.
We should do that. We should do an all Blitz pre-con day where we just pick up a Blitz pre-con, sleeve it, and play.
Well, hold on. The First Strike decks might be extremely low power, by the way. So they may not be equivalent because they said the First Strikes are going to be balanced all to each other. Because, you know, in the past, the Blitz decks have been like, the Blitz decks are balanced with the set they came out in.
True.
If you like, so sometimes if you take a Blitz deck from one set and play against another set, you just get flattened.
That's true. I just meant to. I think Blitz decks are more skill and like flesh and blood, fundamental oriented, right? Than like trying to. I've got the big cards kind of a thing. So obviously, heavy hitters pre-con might not be or might be too powerful for, say, Enigma's Blitz pre-constructor, the First Strike. But I feel like everybody's still kind of in that same realm of playing with very bare minimum cards.
Can you imagine playing like a Rhinar pre-con, the Rhinar pre-con into like a draft Enigma? You get destroyed. The Enigma would destroy you. Like, even if it wasn't a good Enigma draft deck, it would probably still flatten the Rhinar.
Yeah.
But that's a cool way to get people into. And like I said, I'm keeping all the Blitz decks sealed. So for the most part. But that's why I was going to give everybody an option on that. I think it'd be fun. I've got tons of Blitz decks. I got nothing to do with them.
That wasn't.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
And so that pre-con wasn't the only new product that we got spoiled for. We also got spoiled for the next Armory deck, which is going to be Azalea, which I thought was pretty surprising. I didn't think Azalea really needed new cards, but maybe they want to push her because she is I think she's one of the healthiest things in the meta to prevent these like crazy combo-y decks, but also I really hate Red Ledger. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
Conspiracy theory time. They're pushing her to LL. There's going to be a new Ranger. We were talking big last night about what the next set's going to be. Where do you go after Rosetta? Right? Like, where do you go? And somebody was like, well, has there been a Ranger introduced recently since Riptide? And I was thinking, well, I was like, that, I don't know. I was like, somebody was like, well, we got to get our conclusion to Monarch Part 3. And I was like, it just feels too early. Like Dusk Till Dawn just feels like it just came out. It feels too early to go right back to Shadow and Light. And so I'm thinking it's an Ice Ranger. It's coming back, baby.
Yeah, it could be in a First Strike deck that comes back pretty quick. It could be that we see the same thing I was talking about where we might have a Ice Majestic hero. That's
there's an Ice Ranger
because Shiver is still technically in the game because
there is an Ice Ranger.
They LL'd Voltaire, not Shiver. No, well, let's talk about the cards, right?
Okay, real quick conspiracy theory. Sorry, definitely want to talk about the cards in just a second, but Noah, you put me onto a conspiracy theory. Monarch 3 in Dusk Till Dawn, Bravo and Oldham and Lexi and Briar were all in Solana during the events of Dusk Till Dawn. In Monarch 3, what if that's where they reintroduce the heroes that have LL'd? What if that's where we get Oldham, that's where we get Lexi, and that's where we get a new Briar?
They might in this kind of like the world comes together to fight it off type thing. And
or
like
they died.
or they died, and there's some offspring. But They all come back. There's no way. There's no way
Shadow
that Key World owed
versions.
him, and there's no way that they go away.
I mean,
They
Levi
might
might
be
have
reborn.
That'd be a crazy set if they reintroduced all of those heroes that LL'd and then threw Chain in the mix too. Man,
I mean, Chain is MIA, right? He got sucked into his own portal.
is that what happened to him?
Yeah, I think
haven't paid
so.
attention to the lore.
I think his demon kind of said, "Ooh," gave him a little pull into.
We can figure this out and we need to have him on. We need to bring our lore expert on.
Yes,
And figure out kind of where the story's going and kind of piece it together. But I'm having a really tough time saying to myself what comes after Rosetta, because it feels like we just got a ninja, we just got an illusionist, we just got
getting
assassin.
Savage Lands? Like, I know we got a bunch of brute support heavy hitters, but I want to see like what's actually going on in that part of the world.
So that's what I was gonna say. Maybe we go to another Pits type scenario where it's like an Outsiders Part 2 thing where they do more of the Savage Land stuff. I'm just trying to think, what do you do after Rosetta?
And Bright Lights seems like it kind of ended on a cliffhanger. It's like, do we have this dark demigod robot coming out of the ground or not?
It feels too early for Monarch conclusion, but I don't know what they do in the interim. It's very weird. Usually you can kind of predict the next set, like, we don't know. It's like we haven't had this and such, but like, I don't know. Ranger feels kind of neat to bring out a new Ranger. Azalea's on her way to LL, and so I feel like they're going to need to fill that. Riptide can't be the only playable
Riptide
Ranger.
plays on such a different metric from Azalea that I think once Azalea LLs, the Ranger as a class is kind of dead. Like, Riptide doesn't play the same. He plays like a weird Lexi more than he plays like Azalea.
It's an Ice Ranger. It's coming. I know it is. It's going to be sickening. It's going to make no sense.
The new card that got spoiled first for this Azalea precon is, funny enough, not even really an Azalea card. It's more of a Riptide card. Line it up. It's a 1-cost yellow, block 3. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +3. You may turn a face down arrow in your arsenal face up. If you do, put an aim counter on it. Go again. So the interaction with this is you play Line It Up. It triggers Riptide. You put a card in face down, and the card you put in face down, you could then turn face up to give it +3 and an aim counter.
Seems really good.
Yeah, it's not bad. So the play line you could follow is you could have a 0-cost arrow in hand. You could trench a card to get 1 resource, play Line It Up. In response to Line It Up, load the 0-cost arrow, flip it up. It is now a immobilizing shot, swinging for 7. If it hits, you can only play 1 non-attack action, 1 attack action during your turn.
Wait. Read that one more time. You have to have it says you have to turn
a face down arrow in your arsenal face up. If you do, put an aim counter on it.
Oh, so it's not targeting.
Yeah.
That
you could do it with Bolton Shot too.
Well, no, even if it does target, no, I guess you have to have if it says target, you have to have a target when you play it. Yeah. No, it does work with Riptide's ability. It works quite well. The problem is it costs 1. The upside is it pitches yellow. Yellow pitch is kind of nice in Riptide.
Blocks 3 too. Feels good.
Yeah, it's one of the few pumps that also blocks 3, but that's probably because it's 1 cost.
Sandscour Great Bows.
That as well.
You can't Sandscour Great Bow in Riptide. It's bad.
Well,
because you can't control the top of your deck.
It works for SS, like it works for Sandscour Great Bow Azalea, but it also plays really well with Riptide.
No, Line It Up just doesn't work super well with Azalea, right? Because you want to use your Crunch Wrap to flip your card face up, right, and get your opt. Or you want to use your Azalea power to flip a card in, and then it's face up. Or you want to use Death Dealer to put an arrow in, and then it's face up. Like, the only way it works with Azalea is if you're reloading, and there are effects that reload. On reload or your arsenal card, but are you going to really waste your face up flip when you could just use that with Crunch Wrap?
No. I know it feels wonky, but that's why I actually think it's targeted toward future Rangers as well. So more to my conspiracy.
Speaking of Skullbone Cross Wraps, that's probably why it's not in the deck. It's also legendary, so that's not in the deck. The other card that was spoiled from that is a very bright lights looking headpiece
Yes, I almost thought it was a mech headpiece when I saw it. Dude. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, that's Ranger equipment?
Target Totalizer, a 0 block, or not 0 block, a no block at all. That's important. They stopped making a bunch of 0 block equipment. Action, destroy this. Whenever an arrow with an aim counter hits this turn, draw a card. Go again. This card seems bad.
It feels really weird. I don't think this is for the current Rangers. Again, this is my
I don't know why they marked this as an M.
This is my
I don't know.
conspiracy.
I don't know why they would have marked this with an M. I would have marked this with a C.
A rare or a common, yeah. Now there are the boots that have not been spoiled yet. Those fancy new red lighted boots that Azalea is wearing, and we don't know what those boots are.
Okay, so there's so many hoops you have to jump through here. You have to tell your opponent that you're using it by using it, right? And then you have to put an aim counter on your arrow. And then you have to shoot the arrow, and then you have to hit with the arrow, and then you finally get a card. And that card, I guess, is to go back into your arsenal unless you gave it go again. But then if you give it go again and you're relying on that card draw to extend your turn, your opponent just blocks. And then you go, oh, I broke my helmet for nothing and I didn't draw my card and my turn ended. Now,
it's hard to be. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that headpiece feels very out of place right now, which is why I'm more drawn to it than ever. Cards that feel out of place now feel better later. They had to have been designed with a purpose.
It
okay?
is.
I'm
it
going
is
to
not
poison
in
the well speak again.
It is not even remotely in the power level as the KO Armory deck. Majestic.
No. Well,
No.
I don't know what
Definitely
they were
not.
thinking when they made Savage Sash. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea. They were like, hey, KO, you block really, really well. Block even better, baby, and get all that good stuff.
Free resources.
Free resources, why not? I was saying we don't know what the boots do yet. And those boots look cool, and I think
It could be correct.
Azalea's boot slot is very
Yeah.
not,
it's just
snaps are
Snapdragons
good.
or block
It's just
two.
snaps.
Right, or block,
Yeah.
right? So like I feel like these could be a really, really good time to introduce like an Azalea boots, something that makes the hero feel good. So that might be where all the power comes into those boots.
Or Ranger
see.
boots, period. Purchase kind of suck. Spending 2
Perch
resources to give your
Perch grapplers are
face up arrows go
expensive,
again.
dude.
Like
Oh,
I have broken perch grapplers for its ability one time in like 200 games. So
it's so expensive.
cost 2.
Rangers ain't playing blue pitch. Okay.
Oh,
There's
definitely, dude. When if Riptide ever breaks perch grapplers against you, you should go, because that means like, because there's like so few reasons he would ever do that. It has to be like double bolt and shot, like no, not double bolt and shot, like double 0 cost arrow with a rain razor and like setup, and it was a 6 card hand to begin with. Like that's the only way it's like ever worth it. Or he's just trying to like really get you with an endless arrow. He knows it's gonna hit. Anyway, so I'm pretty excited about lining it up. That would be the main reason I would stick with Riptide if some of the cards in this Azalea deck give more aim counter versatility, because I would love to not have to play Death Dealer and run a bow. God, please give us a new bow. I'm so tired of Death Dealer.
It's gonna be Death Dealer.
No,
In this deck.
no.
In this deck, yeah. It's her weapon.
It puts
I mean,
the arrow in face up. How does it get the aim counter? Maybe it'll be Sandscour
Well,
Great
maybe
Bow
it's
just right in the
Sandscour.
deck.
maybe. That would make sense.
Yeah, that would make more sense than Death Dealer, but it would be really lazy of them, I think, to put in Death Dealer. It doesn't synergize with the aim counter strategy at all. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, week 1 of Nationals, or week 2 of Nationals, is now done, right? So,
Yeah.
Zen seems to be pretty successful.
Yep.
I've got this awesome spreadsheet that you sent me of the top 8 breakdown. And
Yeah, shout out to @Vishra TCG that put that together.
Yeah, this is
I
sweet.
found it through TCG Talk on Vishra's Twitter page. I don't know if it's a collab between them, but Vishra's the one that I found it on.
So I guess this is technically week 1. United States is like week 0.
Yeah.
And Zen has almost a problematic top 8 rate.
Yeah.
His win rate's a little high, but I don't think he's like higher than Lexi. I don't think his top 8 is higher than Lexi. So, but I don't think you should ever compare anything to Lexi. Lexi was yuck.
Lexi was disgusting.
I mean, Zen feels almost more consistent. Like, I don't know.
I don't think
feel
Zen would exist if Lexi was in the game.
No, definitely not. Lexi, as she was at the end of her reign of terror, no.
There's the
She'd
ice
still
tax.
be the best deck.
The ice tax would just be too crazy.
Yeah.
Like he does run a lot of blues, but still.
23 top 8s, 13 top 4s, 4 wins overall.
Wait,
yeah.
How does Frostbite even interact with chi effects? How does it interact? You have to spend your chi first. What happens? I need to ask a judge question. I'm confused. I know the rule is you have to spend your chi first. So I'm assuming you have to pitch the chi and then pitch an additional 2. The rules have to make it where it's playable. But that just like confused me for a second because like when
it's gonna be a pain. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it breaks everything, right? Because you can't even like play those transcend cards for free.
Yeah.
And you really need to play those for free to get the value out of them.
The longer we keep Channel Lake Frigid out of the game, the better.
No, bring it back, please, Ice.
No.
God, Ice.
We need Ice back badly.
You get to have your obnoxious stealth cards banishing everything that they see.
I mean, yes.
You're blue heavy anyway. You're fine. You're playing methodical and 1s and 2s. Like you're gonna be okay anyway. On the ice tax.
So we all know Lexi would probably stomp this meta, but Zen is currently stomping it. He doesn't have a lot of heroes that interact with him, and you could see that the heroes that do interact with him are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th most winning decks, right?
KO,
and that's going to be
Prism,
Azalea, and KO. KO has a lot of 2-for-6s that interact strongly with Zen. Prism has her Halo that she could break to turn off Zen's power turn and interact with Zen in some pretty strong ways. And Azalea has Red and Ledger, which Red and Ledger can just win the game against anyone who needs to use more than 1 action point, and Zen needs to use his action point 6 or 7 times in a turn.
Yeah, like if you look at the breakdown too, though, it's not like all the other heroes are completely phased out. I mean, well, some of them have 0 representation. But
okay,
I mean,
let's talk about let's point out the 0 representation heroes and see if there are problems. 5 Bravo Katsu. So already the other 2 ninjas, there's no reason to play them, or people aren't seeing a reason to play them. They are all 5 Katsu has 0 top 8s. Yep.
I mean, Katsu has on hits, but Zen just does it better.
Viserai has 0 top 8s. Reinar has 0 top 8s. Max, Teklavasan, Vincent, Arachne, Olympia, and Betsy.
Those are all heroes that I would consider to be really not relevant in the meta.
Yeah,
right now. They're just not. It's just not their time.
God, I hated running into a Max at the Battle Hardened because that hero can't win in this current meta. Like, he just gets destroyed by everyone else in the pool, and then I run into him like, dang it! And then he played Mechanoid on like turn 3. But I feel like looking at these stats that I don't think anything should be banned from Zen. Maybe the boots.
I would hit the boots,
but
that's wishful thinking. I don't know. I feel for the hero if it speedruns to LL for the fact that it's supposed to be this like grand reveal, and this could be like 1 or 2 sets. You know, like it might by next set and next like tournament, like Zen could already be pushing LL.
KO's powering through though. What's KO's living legend status now?
KO's in the same sort of high roll. I think KO has a higher ceiling of numbers.
KO is currently at 632 LL points.
Oh my god, dude, he's gonna LL and like like seriously, like he will LL.
He picked
Azalea
up 2
will LL
wins.
as well.
He only picked
Azalea's
up 2.
what 700? Isn't Azalea at 7 or high 6s?
Azalea is at 633.
So
It's funny. The 2 Dory wins, by the way, are in the same one because it was a Dory v Dory finals. So so both of those Dories were in the top 8. I think it was.
the top 2. Number of
the
top 2s
only
is
2
2.
Dories was they played each other and a Dory had to win. I'm gonna go find that deck list. I
That's
think it was
really funny.
I think
I
it
didn't
was
know
Bolivia
that.
or Bulgaria nationals that it happened in. So
So
that's kind of funny.
Notably, there's a pretty steep drop off in the number of top 8s after Prism. It goes from 13 top 8s all the way down to I think 7.
Yeah, with Kano.
Yeah, and you've got 7 set for Kano, 7 for Enigma, and 7 for New. I think that's a pretty clear indicator. They hit the balancing like perfectly on Enigma and New, and Zen is just a bit overtuned.
Well, I agree with what Brian Gottlieb said not too long ago. It's okay for things to be powerful. I mean, it's what makes the game interesting. And yes, Zen can have some crazy turns, but that's not happening every single game. It's not happening every single turn.
My problem.
You have to figure out how to interact with Zen in order to beat Zen. Otherwise, yes, you're going to lose.
My problem with
But it can be done.
is that the way his power turn works is he says, I block 7, and then I yeet 35 damage at you. Like, that's
and it's on command because he's gonna fish the cards he needs. Like he's gonna get the
almost
cheat. He's gonna
on command. He can low roll and not transcend in a reasonable amount of time and die. The issue is like it just happens so fast, and you feel like sometimes that it's just who got their power card and just shoved it at their opponent first. And Zen is the fastest deck we've seen who can do that besides maybe KO. And people already had problems with KO, right? Because KO can actually do it turn 1. He can just turn 1, Blood Rush Bellow, high roll the crap out of you. And just...
God, especially if he goes first and sets it with Cast Bones and hits it and just passes and he's coming at you.
Or just goes first and arsenals a Blood Rush Bellow and just...
Right.
And just... and then you go second and you swing into him, he blocks with his chest piece and you go, oh man, here it goes.
Here we go. Oh yeah.
So whose high roll potential is worse, KO or Zen?
KO has a higher ceiling in my opinion.
Prism has the highest ceiling of any hero high roll potential, I think. Out of all these heroes, Prism is the highest, but she's also the most fragile. Out of the 4 we mentioned, Prism, when Prism high rolls, the game just ends. She just beats the crap out of you. You don't get to interact. And
if you do, you're interacting with Spectra.
Yeah, you're just going, I guess I'll kill ALS. And she's like, okay, I'll throw a Herald at you and then I'll play ALS again. All right, well, 7 life down. I'll kill ALS again. I don't have a big problem with that form of Prism high roll as long as it's a Rapture build. Vestige, I think, is kind of toxic. But Prism is the highest at high roll, which is why she's there at 13 top 8s. No wins, notably, though. She couldn't lock it in. Yeah, probably the fragility problem, because sometimes Zen just says, okay, turn 3, you're dead.
Yeah, out of those 13 top 8s, only one of them even made it to the finals. Wow.
Yep. I think it is a little bit that people have gotten so much better at playing into Prism. They understand how to block her. They understand what she's weak to. We got 2 more cards that are extremely good into Prism, right? Battlefront Bastion and Blanche are great cards into Prism. Battlefront Bastion says, pop your first Herald, and now I cover the breakpoint if you throw a 7 Herald at me. Really good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it feels it. Battlefront Bastion is such an amazing card. Like every once in a while, LSS just blows my mind with the designing of a card.
Battlefront Bastion is really well designed.
why it like fits into and it was so universally good, right? For limited, blocking the 2 on the dagger, blocking the other, like it was so well designed. It's a popper. Every once in a while there comes like that card.
I think Blanche was really well designed too. It's a pretty good counter into the meta. It had a really good limited presence. And when we were full of people complaining on Twitter constantly about Prism, they secretly like, man, we already have a card in print that just says Prism doesn't have a turn. Like Prism has to block that card. If it hits, she does nothing. Like Luminaris, because Luminaris basically loses its text.
Yeah. The tools are there. The problem is, and everybody's going to say the same thing, is there's only so many sideboard slots that you can include certain tools to target certain decks, and so you just it's the card game thing again.
Let's get an 85 card deck size.
No,
they can't.
If I include all this sideboard tech, I'm not able to do my cool thing.
If they put more cards in the sideboard, we run into some crazy
I'm joking.
People get to deploy like insane fatigue strategies that they normally wouldn't be able to hold. And Olympia gets to have 9,000 more pieces of equipment just for fun.
I think the 80 card deck is with the unlimited.
It's good.
That you could go in with 72 cards.
Yeah, no,
it's perfect.
It's a perfect balance. You have to think really hard about those 80 cards, and you can only shore yourself up against certain matchups. You're going to have to give away points to the others. Like when I play Dory, if I play in this meta, I don't care about Kano. I'm just going to cede everything to it. There's no point in shoring up for the AB because it's just not worth it.
At least people can't complain that the meta is open, because it certainly is not open anymore.
Don't think so?
No. If you don't show up with a deck to beat Zen, you should be playing Zen.
Well, I think that there are some decks you need to, like, we put our decks to plan for. But Enigma still has a presence. Kano still has a presence.
He was like 18% of the meta at US Nats.
Okay.
And I think he was more than that.
Define an open meta. How do you define an open meta?
An open meta would be the most represented deck is like 9 to 10%, and then day 2 it kind of sticks with that, right? That's open meta. That I think once a deck starts exceeding 15%, the meta is starting to close because people have probably identified the best deck in the format. In which case you'll start seeing approximately 10 to 15 to 20% of the meta being the counter to the best deck in the format.
Right.
That's when the meta starts to close up, because then you can start doing your little niche choices of, hey, I'm going to see that like the BDIF is not as good anymore because there's a lot of counters to it. So I'm going to bring the deck that counters all those counters and hope that like the Zens don't show up because they're worried that everyone's teching against them, or they'll be like, no one's teching against Zen because he's not showing up. And so he shows up, and we have that bouncing back and forth. Kind of like when Icelander kept being like a really, really strong deck. People would kind of like say, okay, I'm not going to worry about Icelander. She'd come back, she'd win an event, and then people would come with the Icelander tech, and then she would struggle, and back and forth. That's like the closed meta. The open meta with heavy hitters until KO kind of like took over was just like, you literally just show up with anything. You have no idea what you're going to run into at any given competition. And it kind of like boiled down a little bit into dual wield warrior and KO and Victor.
It was value centric, because how do you beat a meta that's so open? You try and outvalue everything. You say, okay, if I don't know right, and so we're out of that, and that's why like dual wield's dead. Like warrior dual wield dead. It's just dead. This is not a value centric.
You can't beat
anymore.
Zen. You can't.
No, you cannot value him. You cannot outvalue those heroes. The way that they've set up KO, Kano, Zen, you cannot outvalue these heroes.
You know, honestly, that does not hurt my feelings, because I was miserable in the heavy hitters format.
It was kind of weird.
Miserable.
There was no cohesion. It was hard to figure out what you, like you said, what you were going to play against. Everybody was all over the place. There were such weird things going on, and it was fun to kind of like test things. But at least now you know you're literally playing against those decks. Like, look at those top winning decks. That's what you're going to see. Just pick something that plays into them.
Four out of the 5 decks that were the most represented at US Nats are what's winning most of these events. What's topping most of these events.
We called them. It's KO, Azalea, Zen, and Prism.
And like I want to reiterate that I think that Zen probably doesn't need an adjustment based off the data I'm seeing. So we only have like 20 tournaments under our belt. some Nats and some Battle Hardens and stuff.
If there's not something in the works in Rosetta to kind of curb him out, which there might be, which is why they're not doing anything. LSS always has some sneaky card where they're like, okay, contingency plan if Zen becomes too good because we accidentally did this, and this card comes into play now, kind of a thing. But I trust them. I think they'll figure it out. I feel like maybe they won't. It's not like a Voltaire situation. I think that there's some easy things to hit in Zen just to tone it down just a bit.
You just bump the boots off. That strikes 2 to 3% win rate off of them.
And there are other boots that would slide right in. Like
just use the ones that banishes and puts a tiger in your banish zone. It's pretty straightforward. You run those boots anyway, so that you don't just fold to Mechanologist.
I feel like we say this. I feel like we say this like every other format, or maybe every other month or so, but LSS has earned the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know.
They have gotten really good about their testing. I feel like we owe them the benefit of the doubt in being a little more patient and seeing how the meta develops.
Right.
This is still week 1 and week 2 of a brand new format. There's still a lot of answers left to find.
I think I pretty quickly called out that Lexi needed to be adjusted, and they banned Bullseye Bracers like the next week. And guess what? It only shaved like 3, 4, 5% off of her win rate, if that. And she still raced a Living Legend.
She still ran away with everything.
Yeah, but Lexi was completely and utterly broken.
Voltaire was completely and utterly broken.
Voltaire was insane. Voltaire should have never ever made it past.
God, oh, man, I'd love to play with some Voltaire, like in this meta, like some ice Lexi right now, or I'd just love to get ice back in the game right now. Anyway,
it's coming.
So yeah, I think Zen is here to stay, and you guys who have nationals coming up or any other events coming up until we get new cards in the game, you need to be ready to play Zen or beat Zen.
Yep.
I don't think he's strong enough. He's going to get any major bans. So that means he's going to be hanging around. He's going to be showing up as about 16 to 20% of your meta for your events.
I think that's a ice cold take at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm done.
Yeah, I think that's about it for me this week.
I think
about ready to start
we
doing
really
some
wrapped
schoolwork.
it up.
Yeah, I had these thoughts stewing while I was on vacation. I told you I thought about cards, even though I didn't even bother opening February.
I may open February here in just a moment and ignore my schoolwork. See.
Yeah, my Riptide buddy forced me to type up some notes for him on vacation. That's the one Flesh and Blood thing I did. I typed up my thoughts on Riptide for him to put into a video. Anyway,
Thomas, where can everybody find you on social media?
At Wet the System Fab. Yep, that's where you can find me on Twitter, and Wet the System pretty much anywhere on Discord.
Mr. Donnie, Mr. Fab Dad.
I am Draco Hominus 87 everywhere that social media is sold, except on fabric.gg, where I write a couple of different article series. We're starting to narrow it down at this point. I've mostly been UPF brews and the coverage review articles. I don't have another one coming out until next month, and both of the ones for next month are going to be UPF brews. Yeah, I got the schedule earlier today. It's going to be 2 UPF brews next month, and then the Pro Tour.
Okay.
Look for me there.
And you're going to be streaming, maybe. We'll get to that.
We'll see.
You can find me at BigMaxFab on Twitter or twitch.tv/BigMax. Also going to be doing, jointly, hopefully, some more streams on our YouTube channel. I'll get everybody the intro, outro stuff and signed up for that. But it was a lot of fun doing the box openings and stuff, and I'll do other market segments or go through games on Talishar with Dorinthia while I break my armor on turn 2, and everybody says, why would you break it so early? And I'm like, well, we're not going to win this game if we go past turn 6, so might as well go.
We might not even make it to turn 4.
Yeah, exactly. So I always knew that play style would come in handy. people I've seen them, they're like, oh my god, he broke it already, and it's like, yeah, I'm not playing around. I'm gonna win or I'm gonna lose. Let's get this over with. But look forward to that. Don't forget about the Realm Invitational. Mark your calendar, August 17th. We're 2 subs away from 150. Somebody push it over the threshold. We need to start working on that, and then we'll bring on another guest, maybe for our 50th. Start thinking of a special guest. I think I have somebody in mind. And that'll help me solve the Realm Invitational too. I got to count the weeks. We're at 42. Will we make it there in time for 50? Oof.
Break out the
It
calendar.
might be like exactly there.
6, 7, 8. Ooh, it's 2 days past it.
We could record early.
We could record early. I was thinking of bringing Mr. Minmax himself on. Maybe we do it for 45 if I can get it. He's already said he would come on. That way I can bully him into giving us a really good deal for the for the price support.
Fair warning.
Well, we got him. We can eke out that value. But if nobody has anything else, we'll take it out. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed catching up with us this week. And if you did, subscribe or follow, depending on where you found us, to catch us again. Until then, take care of yourselves. Remember, we are all siblings in cardboard. And discard your cards, because you don't have to speculate on that. It's free. Pummel comes out, you discard them. Real simple. No value gain on that. It's just
remember to D-Chi.
D-Chi as well.
Yeah, don't get a GRV at Nats.
And don't ignore it either. It's weird. Get IP'd, Get IP'd.